Good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're watching this video. So the first thing to do is to take your clay and break it in half. It's going to be about the size of a baseball, which we talked about. You want to wrap this other piece up nice and tight. Place it in a Ziploc bag. Okay, so we want to go ahead and roll this into the size of a baseball. Now this is probably, so we're just going to move it around in our hands like that. It might be a little too much. Let's see here. I have kind of small hands, so it kind of feels like too much. I'm picking up all this excess stuff that fell off. All right, now that I have it into the size of a baseball, I'm going to flatten it out. So on my base. So here's my base. I put down some plastic wrap. I've also been wearing gloves because I really don't like getting it on my hands. So it's something that I just don't enjoy. So I wear vinyl gloves. So now we're going to roll it out or press it down. So as you can see, oops, I hit it with my head. As you can see, it is thick. You want it to be about a half an inch, which is right here. Oops, here's an inch, so a half an inch is here. And then a 3/4 is right here, so it's before the 1 inch mark. So when it comes to thickness, we're going to use this to gauge how thick it is. Press it down. Probably going to need to stand to do this. You're going to need to use your weight. You want it to be even. You don't want it to be lumpy. So we can dip our fingers. I have some water right here. See, this will smooth it out. We don't want it to be too wet, but we don't want it to be drying out on us. Okay. Use my ruler, and that's right at half an inch. So our next step is to make the head. So roll a lump of clay between your palms. We're going to be cutting this apart. So we're not going to leave it like this. So I'm going to just cut some off of it to make a head. Remember what we talked about before about proportion. So 7 heads tall. So the bigger the head, the taller our sculpture. So if my head is this big, it's going to be gigantic. So I'm going to pinch some off, make it about half that size. Let's see what that looks like. Still too big. Pinch off again. You really don't want it probably bigger than like a quarter, like a coin of a quarter, but it's going to be 3-dimensional, so we want it to be, so it's kind of like an oval or egg shape, because our head's not perfectly round. So boop, there's my head right here. Next, we're going to roll another ball, which I have right here. And then we're going to gently flatten it to form the neck. So this is perfect. Roll it into a ball. Maybe pinch some off. That's a little big for the neck. So we have our head and we have our neck. And then we're going to take another ball and we're going to make this the body. So this may be too small for the body. There we go. That is a little small for the whole body, so we may take our plastic knife, cut a little more off, roll another ball, see how big that is. Maybe 2 heads. So let's roll those 2 together. So it's going to be more like this. We don't want it to be round. We want it to kind of be like a cylinder for the body. So this is my body. I can see if it's in proportion. for the most part, we're good to go. So the neck is part of the body, so I'm going to take a little bit out of here. I think it's a little too long. And then I'm going to roll it into a cylinder again. So sometimes I roll it into a ball by moving my hands in a circular motion, and then I'm going to roll it into a cylinder. You can also roll it into a cylinder this way by using your hands. Still feel like it's too long, but it might just need to be squished a little bit. So there we go. We've got our body. Now we're going to use our knife to cut 2 arms and 2 legs from our coil. So it's saying to make another coil. So I'm going to just take some of this clay and I'm going to roll it into a coil. This is the fun part. This is the part everybody loves. You get to play with the clay. And as you roll the coil, it's gonna stretch out like a snake. I'm sure you've done this in elementary school or at home playing with Play-Doh. So I want my arms to be the same length. I'm gonna do this. And these are gonna be my arms. And then I'm gonna do the same for the legs. So we're gonna it says to press them, make them flat on the bottom. So the way I do that is just a tap, tap, tap on my surface here so that I can make them a little flat on the bottom. My clay is a little too wet, I can tell you that right now. So I've got my arms, my body, but it's looking good. So let's see, legs. You could do something like this for legs, or you can cut them in half. They look a little short. Remember, we need to have hips, knees to ankles, and then probably feet. So maybe cut this in half. You can do the same thing I'm doing with this plastic knife. You can do with a craft stick. You do not need anything sharp, that's for sure. There's 1. There's 2. And then we're going to take some small bits of clay to form hands and feet. So we're going to take this little ball here, and I'm going to make feet. I'm going to roll it and then roll into a ball and then make it into a small cylinder like this. Roll into a ball, make it into a small cylinder. Uh-oh, these aren't the same size. That's not going to work out. Pinch a little bit off of this one. Put it over here and let's see if that works better. Maybe we'll just roll them together, make a cylinder. That'll make it a lot simpler. And we can measure it. We know we've got the same amount of clay for both feet. So there's 1 foot, and then 2 feet, and then we're going to do the same for hands. Take some clay, roll it into a ball, roll it into a cylinder. Hands are smaller, so we're going to break off that, roll into a cylinder again. So now we have 1 hand and 2 hands. Okay, now that we have these pieces, we can start to connect them. This is the score, apply, slip, and join. So before joining the forms to the figure, you'll need to score and apply the slip. So what is slip? Slip is a little bit of clay with a little bit of water, and I'm going to do this right here so you can see. Usually you would take like a tiny cup, like maybe a paper cup or a little plastic cup. This is what slip looks like. Slip is just a little bit of clay and a little bit of water. This helps the clay stick together. So the score part is when I take a toothpick And wherever I'm going to join two pieces of clay together, I'm going to score. So usually I tell people to just draw a tic-tac-toe like this. Some people find that difficult. Some people just like to poke it. Poking it works too. You're just trying to rough that up. And then you're going to take the piece that you're going to connect. You're going to do the same thing. So score. Now you're going to take some of your slip, put your finger in it, just a little bit. You're going to put it on both sides. It's going to act like a little glue. And we're going to kind of join those together. Kind of wiggle them and see how they kind of just stick. So when it dries, they're going to stay together. And that's what we want. We want those pieces to stay together. So now I can do a little, I might make this a little bit longer. I'm going to attach my arms to the side. So I'm going to do the same thing with my arms. Poke, 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 or scratch, 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 scratch. And then take my arm. Do the same thing at the end of the arm. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Take some of my slip. Put it there. Take some of my slip, put it here. I'm going to attach this arm, kind of wiggle them together, and then I'm going to lay them flat. So I'm doing the smaller pieces, and then I'll do the bigger pieces, okay? There's my toothpick. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then I'm going to do the same thing right here. Join it with my slip. Make sure I put my slip over here. I need to get some more water. Sometimes you can use a paintbrush for this part. If you have a paintbrush at hand, you can use a paintbrush. I have added that to the materials list. It says in the directions you can use your finger like I'm doing, but a paintbrush works really well too. Now we're going to attach the legs. So we're going to see where we're going to attach them, and then we're going to score in that area. I'm just doing both sides right now, and then I'm going to do the top of the legs. Slip on this part, this part. There we go. I'm going to slip them together. Just like a little wiggle action. You have to be gentle. The one thing about this is that there's this saying like firm but gentle. And that's what I always try to remember. It's firm but gentle. A little more water on my fingers. Make some more slip over here. And then one of the things we're going to also do is we're going to be positioning our person so that we get kind of that body movement.